to actually limit and alleviate the consequences of war. As history has shown, it was not until very recently, the second half of the 19th century, that the international community began to agree on a globally accepted normative framework, set of rules.
بدأ خلالها المجتمع الدولي بالتوافق على مجموعة من الخطوات والقواعد التي يجب أن تتبع.
Legal instruments to restrict the means and methods of war.
وأدوات قانونية لوقف وحظر أدوات الحروب.
And throughout the last 150 years,
وخلال 150 عام الماضية,
the ICRC and many others have endeavored to adapt that set of law, to adjust it and to make it as useful as possible. Muslim countries, Muslim states, Muslim scholars, Muslim citizens, Muslim philosophers, they have contributed very significantly to this work, to its development and to its progress. We are not here to preach, nor are we here to compare international humanitarian law with Sharia law. That's not our competence. We are here to inform of the rules that are being defined globally and universally as the acceptable and the right ones.
بالشكل الإقليمي والدولي ويتم تعريفها على أنها القوانين المعروفة والمقبولة.
The engagement with Islam and Islamic Sharia in particular is part of our continuous efforts to improve the law of war and it's part of our effort of making it more relevant in the Islamic world. This is an endeavor that we are carrying out in many places in the world, and with all constituencies and a variety of religions. Now, it will be the subject of the discussions to draw the parallels, to see the convergences, and also to see the possible areas of friction between international humanitarian law and Sharia law. And we are convinced that this can very much help ensure a better respect for the rules we are talking about. But I'm also confident that this is a territory and this is a place and you are the people with whom we can learn. My personal experience and the experience of many of my colleagues around the world in the Middle East, in Asia, in Africa, is clear about the respect deeply rooted in Islamic principles. From the fate and the treatment to those who are captured, the dignified handling of those who are dead, the importance devoted to the environment, and the importance devoted to the non-combatants and the most vulnerable, and of course the question of healthcare, as upheld, by the way, by our very valiant colleagues from the Palestine Red Crescent who have also paid the price of blood during the
وكما
war.
قالت قبيلة العزيزة من جمعية الهلال الأحمر الفلسطيني لقد دفعنا ضريبة الدم.
It's also in light of what has happened here and what is happening around the world and in the region.
على ضوء ما حدث هنا وما يحدث على مستوى العالم وعلى مستوى الإقليم.
Indiscriminate attacks against civilians.
بالهجمات لا تميز بين المدنيين.
Destruction of vital infrastructure and heritage.
التحتية الضرورية والميراث والإرث.
Violence against healthcare services and patients
ضد مرضى الخدمات الصحية المقدمة.
are taking devastating proportions in many parts of the world.
سيطرت على جانب مهم من كثير من الأجزاء في العالم.
The examples are too many to mention.
هنالك كثير من الأمثلة.
Now the question is, how can all of us make sure that these principles we agree on can be better respected in the future?
السؤال هو كيف يمكن لنا أن نضمن أن هذه الأمثلة التي نتحدث عنها يمكن أن تحترم بشكل أفضل على مستوى العالم.
A fundamental concern for the ICRC is the ability to reach to those who need.
المخاوف في أحد المخاوف الأساسية الصليب الأحمر هو قدرته على الوصول إلى الأشخاص الذين بحاجة إلى الوصول إليهم.
And that appears to be extremely difficult, not
وهذا
only
يبدو صعبا كثيرا.
when we are looking at the situation now in Syria, in Yemen, in Sudan, South Sudan, in Somalia, the situation is outright catastrophic.
الآن نحن ننظر إلى الوضع في سوريا، في اليمن، في السودان وفي جنوب السودان، وهذا الوضع يبدو كارثيا إلى حد بعيد.
One of the first ICRC's endeavors and missions was during the wars between the Russians and the Ottomans.
أحد أنشطتهم كانت خلال الحروب بين العثمانيين والروس.
And today, more than half of our operations take place in the Muslim world.
ولكن الآن معظم أكثر من نصف أعمالنا تحدث في العالم العربي.
In countries such as Nigeria, Iraq, Yemen,
مثل نيجيريا والعراق
Mali,
ومالي.
we have engaged meaningfully with Islamic leaders,
نحن انخرطنا بشكل لا مغزى مع القادة المسلمين
Islamic scholars,
والعلماء المسلمين.
and this has proved in many opportunities as a life-saving platform
وقد ثبت في كثير من الحالات أن هذا التدخل كان ينقذ حياة البشر.
Now, respect for universal values,
الآن احترام القيم العالمية
as enshrined in international humanitarian laws and supported by Islamic Sharia, or enshrined in Islamic Sharia,
هو منصوص عليه في القوانين ذات العلاقة بالقانون الدولي الإنساني ومذكور أيضا في قوانين الشريعة الإسلامية.
needs global consciousness,
يحتاج إلى وعي عالمي.
not simply pieces of papers and rhetorical speeches.
ليس ببساطة قطع من الورق وخطابات البلاغية.
This is why it is extremely important that we have, as we have today, and we are extremely appreciative of this, that we have representatives from the judiciary, from the security, from the civil society, from the academic society, and from the civil society and the youth.
ولهذا السبب من المهم جدا أن يكون هنالك ممثلين لقطاع القضاء ولقطاع الأمن ولقطاع الشباب والقطاعات المختلفة ونحن نقدر هذا الأمر.
I will simply finish by saying that this can be also an opportunity for the people from Gaza to send a message outside.
أنه هذا المؤتمر يمثل فرصة للناس في قطاع غزة ليوصلوا رسالة إلى الناس.
The message would be that despite
الرسالة هي أنه على الرغم من
50 years of occupation,
على الرغم من 50 عاما من الاحتلال
despite all the suffering,
وبالرغم من كل المعاناة
the indignity and humiliation,
والإساءة والاحتقار,
the lack of freedom,
الإذلال، الافتقار إلى الحرية.
or maybe precisely because of that,
أو بشكل دقيق بسبب هذا كله
the people in Gaza
الناس في غزة
and the Islamic scholars in Gaza,
والعلماء المسلمين في غزة
they send a clear message that there are rules that should not be crossed.
أنهم يرسلون رسالة أن قواعدهم لا يجب أن تنتهك.
This conference is sending a strong signal.
هذا المؤتمر يرسل إشارة قوية.
Believe me, it is being picked up and is being noticed.
الرسالة تلتقط الآن وتلاحظ.
Together, we are discussing together we are discussing about what it means to be under occupation today.
نحن نناقش معا ماذا يعني أن نكون تحت الاحتلال اليوم.
The fact that there is a normative framework and a set of rules that joins us all despite all the difficulties.
وحقيقة أن هنالك مجموعة من القواعد الضابطة التي تجمعنا جميعا على الرغم من كل المصاعب.
This speaks very highly and very importantly of the dignity of the Palestinian people in struggling for their freedom.
وهذا يتحدث بشكل عام وبشكل واضح عن كرامة الفلسطينيين خلال صراعهم من أجل حريتهم.
And I will simply say that what is important here is not the books, is not the politics, is not the political agendas.
وأنا سأقول أن المهم الآن مش الأوراق، مش السياسات، مش الجداول أو الخطط البرامج السياسية.
It is that our sisters here and our brothers here, it is that your and our children live in a honorable fashion, whether in peace or whether in war.
يعيشون بطريقة محترمة سواء كان ذلك في وقت الحرب أو في وقت السلم.
Thank you very much for your welcome.
شكرا جزيلا لكم.
نشكر السيد جاك دي مايو على هذه الكلمة القيمة والمعبرة.